The Or HaChaim HaKadosh wonders why it is the Torah seemingly repeats itself regarding the Binyan HaMishkan. Parshas Truma, Tetzaveh, Vayakal, Pekudei, all contain many of the same exact psukim and trup and details surrounding the Binyan HaMishkan. So it's very unlike the Torah to, again, I use the word seemingly repeat itself, providing us unnecessary details and information, things that we already know. And the Or HaChaim HaKadosh suggests, Ki mitoch shechaviva alav kasva beis pa'amim. Since the Mishkan was so, the building of the Mishkan was so special to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so that is why it repeats itself. And the question is why? What was it about? Again, not even the Mishkan in its, avoda, but really just the process of building the Mishkan. What was it about that was so special to Hashem? And perhaps one of the ideas that it represents is what a Jew is supposed to do in the aftermath of failure, of tragedy. And we have to remember that Bnei Yisrael were building the Mishkan following the Chet HaEgel, which to that point in history was by far the greatest national sin. They lost the Luchos HaRishonos. Thousands of people died. It was a real embarrassing moment. It was a low moment. It was a step back for Bnei Yisrael. And what were they supposed to do? What did Hashem and Moshe instruct them to do? How could they rectify that terrible mistake? And the answer is, you don't always or ever really get a rewind button. You don't get to go back in time and undo what you did, but rather the eitzah is to move forward, to build something, to create something new, to do something positive and productive that will add kedusha, that will create a space for HaKadosh Baruch Hu in our lives. Really, there is nothing to do. The Luchos HaRishonos are lost. The other negative effects, they've taken hold. But we can do something else. We can move on and build something positive and build forward. And that is the blueprint and the groundwork that the Torah is laying for us for all time, following failure, following a tragedy. And perhaps that is what is so chaviv about this episode of the building the Mishkan. And that is why the Torah repeats itself over and over and over again to ingrain within us, this is what you do. Mistakes, failure is inevitable. We can't always fix things that go awry, even if they're our fault, especially if they're our fault. But we can look to the next day, to the next step to take, and do something productive and be, have a positive mindset moving forward. Now, there's a beautiful story, a powerful story, told in the aftermath of the Holocaust, that the Belzer Rebbe, who made it to Eretz Yisrael, requested a meeting with the Ger Rebbe at that time, the Imrei Emes from Avram Mordechai Alter, to get some chizuk. And the two Rebbes met, and the Ger Rebbe saw just how broken and distraught the Belzer Rebbe was. The Belzer Rebbe lost his entire family, tragically, in horrifying fashion, really, to the Nazis, to the Shoah. He himself survived, but he was very broken, and the whole Hasidus was really decimated. And the Ger Rebbe told him the following word. He said, when Yosef and Binyamin meet up after their long separation, and they finally meet each other in Mitzrayim, so the pasuk says that they fell on each other's shoulders and they cried. What were they crying about? So the Rashi quotes that they were crying about each other's loss. That Yosef foresaw in the future the Beis Hamikdash, which would be in the Chelek of Binyamin, would be destroyed, and he was crying for that. And Binyamin saw that in the future Mishkan Shiloh, which would be in Ephraim, and Yosef's Chelek, that would be destroyed, and he was crying for that. And the Ger Rebbe asked the Belzer Rebbe, so why is it that they're each crying for each other? Why doesn't Yosef cry for his Mishkan? Why doesn't Binyamin cry for his Beis Hamikdash? Why are they crying for one another? It's a good question. So the Ger Rebbe answered, because for another Jew's loss, for another Jew's sorrow, we always cry. We lend a shoulder, we lend an ear, we shed a tear. We're always willing to cry. For our own loss, we don't cry. We build. We move on. We don't have self-pity. We don't cry over our own sorrows. We don't cry over our own failures and mistakes. We'll never get anywhere if that's the case. When a person faces a loss, faces a failure, the lesson in the Mishkan is, it's our avoda to build on, to build forward. The Belzer Rebbe heard this, and he, Baruch Hashem, rebuilt this massive Belzer Chasidus with the Belzer Beis Hamikdash that they have. And this was the lesson that the Belzer Rebbe received from the Ger Rebbe. This is a lesson of the Mishkan. In the aftermath of failure and struggle, a Jew must always build on.